We'll start the class with 3 ohms. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vittvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Saddarshanam, a beautiful text by Ramana Maharishi, is teaching us the same Atma Darshanam taught by Shankaracharya in Tattvabodha, where he said that I, the Atma, am different from the 3 states of the mind. Waking, dream, and sleep are the 3 states which are experienced by the mind. But what is the substratum for the mind is called as Atma, or it is called as Sat in this text. The substance is the same. It is the same entity called as Atma or consciousness or awareness or Sat. Sat, as I said before, means Satyam, which can denote the ultimate truth of the universe, or it can denote, as per what Taittiriya Upanishad describes, Sat as pure existence. In religious terms, we call that as God or Ishvara. So all these are just names of one entity which is the holder of this entire universe. That holder of the entire universe can be experienced by me in my own true nature. This is how the development, the background you should remember while doing this text. Because once you know the background, then each of these verses will make sense to you and it will be appealing, it will be attractive, and you will learn what Ramana Maharishi is trying to reveal in these verses. That Sat, pure awareness consciousness principle, is called as Aham. That same Sat, when it gets reflected in our mind, it is called as Ahamkara. So who am I, if you ask? A lay person, a common person will say, I am the body, mind, or the Ahamkara. Whereas a wise person who has the knowledge of the scriptures will say, I am the pure consciousness, awareness. This is the difference between a wise man who knows the scriptures and a lay person. We are all trying to become wise. We are all trying to identify. There are 2 objectives to our study. One is to know who am I, which is a general inquiry for all of us. The second Objective, again, a general objective is we all want to get rid of sorrow in life. This is a common goal for all of us. We all want to experience happiness, eternal, permanent happiness. That is our goal. We get joy in this worldly life whenever there is situations outside which are conducive to our likes, and whenever the situations outside are conducive to our dislikes, again we experience joy. So what happens is it is all situation bound. Our joy and sorrow is situation bound, people bound, objects bound, events bound. But what we are really looking for is ultimate happiness, which is continuous happiness. This is an inborn desire in all human beings. Whether a person knows or not, when a student goes to a teacher and asks for this Atma Vidya, the teacher knows very clearly that this student is asking for a solution to get Nitya Sukha. Therefore, the teacher teaches Atma Vidya, or another name for Atma Vidya is Brahma Vidya. This was taught to Arjuna on the battlefield by Lord Krishna. This was taught by Ramana Maharishi to all the seekers when they visited him. And his only question was, inquire who you are. By inquiring this, you will reach that pure awareness consciousness principle. And this pure awareness consciousness principle is happiness, permanent happiness, Nitya Sukham. That is the nature of the self. Each of these verses in the Saddarshanam, which consists of 44 verses, there is not much of a linkage between them. You can study each one as a separate verse also, separate with each one is trying to reveal the same entity but in different ways. We have covered up to 16th verse last week. We are supposed to do the 17th verse today. I will quickly run through the verse from 12 to 16 just to give you where we were. In the 12th verse, Ramana Maharishi asks, who has got this ignorance about oneself? And who has got to get this knowledge? And then he says, both this are only thoughts in the mind, and it belongs to the ahamkara, the mind with the reflection of consciousness. So this point must be very clearly understood, that when I try to find out who am I, many of the participants of these classes have started these classes because they want to know the real nature. So whenever we ask this question to ourselves, we must remember this basic point, that this is a thought in our mind. But it is something related to Atma, which is the consciousness which is revealing the thought. So the question pertains to the mind, but it is related, it manifests the revealing substance which is Atma. which is the pure awareness consciousness principle, which is revealing the thought. So this consciousness called Atma is beyond knowledge and ignorance, because knowledge and ignorance belongs to the human mind. These verses are very, very deep in their meaning. So unless and until you know the Atma very clearly, that it is beyond, it is a Sakshi of the three states, then you can appreciate all these points. So if you don't understand that Atma well, you can contact me. I can explain to you one-to-one so that you are very clear about Atma. And or you can put it in the question form at the end of the class. I do take some time to answer the questions. I will stop the class at 7:45 Singapore time, so that we have 15 minutes available for the question answers. Then the 13th verse, Aham Brahma Asmi, is a thought of subject. So the Upanishads tell us Aham Brahma Asmi. Brahma means again the same pure consciousness. And it is when I invoke this thought in my mind, what we close our eyes and say Aham Brahma Asmi. We invoke this thought. There are two things which happen when we invoke this thought. Number one, you get rid of all the worldly thoughts. That means the thought of husband I, the thought of brother I, boss I, teacher I, son I, daughter I, all those thoughts they are all ignored while you are doing meditation. And then this particular thought, Aham Brahma Asmi, is a thought which relates to the subject, which is Atma. Even though it is a thought, but this thought reflects the consciousness. And the Upanishads teach us that there is only one principle in this entire universe which can illumine thoughts in the mind. We have that knowledge. So a student who is sitting in meditation with the knowledge that there is only one illuminating principle, which is called as Atma or Brahman, which is called as pure consciousness awareness principle. When he invokes this thought, Aham Brahma Asmi, what happens is, it is a thought pertaining to the consciousness, and knowledge takes place of the subject. Even though we say it is beyond knowledge, beyond ignorance, we can only use words which we know to reveal something which exists, but no word can describe that. This pure awareness is not blankness, but it is Chaitanyam principle. That was said in the 13th verse. 14th verse, Ramana Maharishi made a distinction between knowledge pertaining to the world, which is called as Vishaya Jnanam, and knowledge pertaining to the pure awareness. The knowledge pertaining to pure awareness is called as Samanya Jnanam, general awareness, general consciousness, Chaitanyam principle. And the knowledge of the world is a vritti, is a thought in the mind. So this difference we must understand. Vishaya Jnanam and Samanya Jnanam. I'm just using Sanskrit names, but even if you don't know Sanskrit, I'm sure you will understand the English meaning. One is the general awareness principle. The second is the thought of the world. The thought of the world of objects is brought to the mind by the five sense organs. So Vishaya Jnanam, the thoughts of the objects belong to the world. And this, in the 15th verse, Ramana Maharshi says that this Samanya Jnanam, the pure I, is the Adhishthanam. Adhishthanam means it is the substratum. How do I understand substratum? Very simple. You take our own experience of the waker and the dreamer, the waking world and the dream world. The dream world, the entire dream world, the substratum for that is the waker mind. It is the waker's mind which is projecting the entire dream world. So the waker is a substratum for the dream world, the dream state. Similarly, there is Atma, which is substratum for the waker's world. That is what we call it as Samanya Jnanam, which is Atma. Atma Jnanam is called as Samanya Jnanam, which is the Moolam. Moolam means it is the Adhishthanam. Unless and until Atma is there, there is no Ahankara. That is what is said in the 16th verse. Okay, so that was a quick revision for about 15 minutes of the entire background to where we are today in our study. So today we are going to take up the 17th verse, and in this verse we are going to discuss time with reference to Atma. Very important to note, we are discussing the time which is relative, but we are discussing it with reference to the absolute principle, which is Atma. What he says is that the past and the future are in their own time, which is the present. I'll explain to you one by one, but just the word meaning, try to understand. That means the past, whenever you experience the past, it was also the present at that time when you experienced it. The future, whenever you experience the future, it will always be the present. That means the past and the future has got a relevance only with the present. Giving up the truth of that present, if a jnani discusses the past and future, suppose you don't discuss the present at all, or you discard the present, neither the past has any meaning, neither the future will have any meaning. And he says it's like counting without the number 1 in the world. By this, what he wants to tell us or teach us is the present alone is in our hands. That is why we must always focus our attention on what I can do right now, without having the anxiety of the future or the regrets of the past. These are the two pendulums. It swings from one side to the other side. The mind is compared to a pendulum or a clock, which moves from left to right, left to right, left to right the whole day. So what happens is our mind is generally we are not focused in the present. If you just see how the day flows, unless and until you are taken up a particular job and you do it in the present and you are trying to complete a job, whether it is cooking, whether it is the mind is involved in the present. And what happens is then you're not even conscious of the present. This is what generally we'll realize. So what the past also was present when it was experienced. The future also is present when it will be experienced. So what actually exists is always the present. That is what Ramana Maharishi is trying to reveal. Without a 0, 1 or -1, that means on both the sides of the infinite side to the numbers, from 0 you can go up to infinite on the positive side. From 0 you can go up to infinite in the negative side. Therefore 0 is extremely important. 0 is like the present. The division of time is apparent because of ahamkara. This is a very important statement. Only when I have the I notion, you see, again and again, Ramana Maharishi will, almost in every verse, he will bring this topic of I notion, which he introduced to us right in the beginning, and almost in every verse you will find that this I notion keeps on coming, and the reason why it comes in is in the verse number 4 itself, Ramana Maharishi had introduced the I notion. Verse number 4. If you go back to your notes, you will understand that he introduced this I notion, and this I notion is caused by a thought in the mind. Then it has got the reflection of consciousness. For each one of us, there is a mind which is awake. And when it is awake, the mind gets a thought. That thought which is reflected is in that I thought, there is a reflection of consciousness. So what we are saying here is this division of time is because of this I thought. In sleep, what is our experience? I don't experience any time. Your sleep experience, my sleep experience is exactly the same. I'm talking about deep sleep experience. Your deep sleep experience, your daughter's deep sleep experience is exactly the same. Your dream experiences may be different. Your waking experiences may be different. But all of us have got the same deep sleep experience, which is a state of ignorance. It is a state in which there is a I thought which gets reflected in. I will explain to you, there are many verses which will be coming in Saddarshanam. So right now what we have to understand is the past, present and future all are mithya. They are all notions in our mind. So why is it a notion? Because only when that ahamkara is there, then we can experience time. We can experience the past. We can experience the present. When this I notion is absent in our deep sleep, there is no concept of time. But time is very, very useful to us in our transactional field. That means in Vyavahara, it is very useful. That means during the present, when we are talking about it, we say, yesterday I experienced so and so. Last week I experienced a class. I experienced a class. But I experienced a class, when you say, it is also a thought in the present. It is a memory thought in the present. Past and future exists only in my imagination. It is in the imagination of the mind, in the form of vritti, in the form of thoughts. So, what do we conclude? Experience of past or future is always as present. Past is a memory, future is an anxiety, also a thought. Both are in thought form, but they are all in thought forms in the present. So this is what he wants to teach us, that all time, the conclusion of this verse is what? We must note that this time is a principle which is conceptualized by the human mind to transact in the world. It brings a memory of the previous experiences, which we call it as past, which is a memory, which is a thought, but it is in the present. Again, when we look at the future, I want to plan my marriage. I want to join a college. I want to start this project after 2 years, after 1 year. I want to do this course. All these are thoughts in the mind, but it is in the present. So, the human mind is the cause of time. And the cause of the human mind is Atma. That is where he wants to come down and tell us that Atma is the Adhishtanam, that pure awareness consciousness principle is the substratum in which time comes and goes, space comes and goes, objects comes and goes, but the pure awareness remains changelessly available eternally. Very, very important point. Many a time we get this nature of Atma as Nityaha. In Bhagavad Gita also it comes in. Nitya Sarvagata Sthanuho Achaloyam Sanatanaha. The word Nitya is a very, very important point even for our meditation. One word, you can meditate on this and be with yourself. I am that pure self which is always there, which is always present. I. It remains as I, the consciousness. And with reference, if you hold on to this Atma I, and then you conduct your life on a day-to-day basis, you will find there's a lot of peace in our living. This is the advantage of knowing the Shastra. The knowledge gives us the benefit to hold on and then conduct our life. Morning to evening, you can take a project after project. You can be absolutely focused. The knowledge of Atma gives us a concentration of the mind, which you can never get without this knowledge. Very, very difficult to have this type of concentration, the human mind. Once you know that the substratum is pure awareness. From this awareness, we can then act in the world, and all our actions will be with samatvam, and it will be like in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, it says that excellence in action is yoga. I have digressed a bit, but it is only to bring down the point that hold on to this Atma, and then you will realize that everything else flows very smoothly. Okay, so that was time with reference to awareness, awareness principle. And the next verse is verse number 18. Here, Ramana Maharishi wants to teach us about space and time with reference to the body. What he says is the talk of space and time, they appear only when the body is available. And if we know that I am the body, then only you will talk about this happened to me in so and so 5 years ago. This happened to me 10 years ago. The time concept is always with reference to the body. And he says that there is no concept of either space or time without referring to the body. And this body shines because of Atma, is illumined by Atma. So space and time are only with reference to the body. Body is a product of time and space. Body was born on a certain date. Body will go away on a certain date. It was born in, say, India or Singapore or America, wherever you are. Body is with reference to time. Body is with reference to space. But this body is aware by what? Body is aware by pure awareness, Chaitanya. So space is a thought in the mind with reference to the body. Time is a thought with reference to the body. That is what he wants to convey in this particular verse. Earlier he said it was with reference to the mind. Here he is saying it's with reference to the body. You should note one side point here. Body and mind are always together. Body, there is at no time except in deep sleep, you will find that otherwise body and mind and reflected consciousness and the Atma, the awareness principle, they are all one. They all appear together. In sleep, I exist, but without time and space. Why? Because the mind has gone to sleep, not I, the awareness principle. The I, the awareness principle, am aware of a thought of the Karana Shariram, which is the thought of blankness, which is what we call as Tamo Gunaha. So I am aware of the Tamo Gunaha, Tamas. For those who have done the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, you will know that matter consists of 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So in the waking state, our mind is sattvic. It is completely bright, full of knowledge. In the deep sleep state, it is tamasic. Our mind is made up of matter. Matter is 5 elements. Tattva teaches us mind is a subtle body. And it has got the 3 gunas. All this background will help us to understand all these verses. So time and space are nothing but they are superimpositions on the pure consciousness, awareness principle, which is Atma. Time and space are concepts in the mind. And the mind is in me, the body. And body is revealed by Chaitanya. So without the Aham Chaitanyam, there is no time or space which is possible. This is the ultimate essence of this entire verse. Without the Aham principle, Aham here refers to not the body, it does not refer to the mind, It refers to the pure consciousness principle, which is revealing the body, the gross body in the waking state. It reveals the subtle body in the dream state, which is only thoughts in the form of vasanas. It reveals the Karana Shariram, the causal body, in the sleep state, which is in the form of a thought of blankness, that it is Jada. The body is almost equivalent to an inert material, which is the causal form. But what is aware of this is called as Chaitanya. Okay, so with these two verses, then we go a little bit deeper. Consciousness without the body is called as Aham. Consciousness circumscribed by the body is called as Ahamkara. So I fall into Ahamkara level, and then it causes Desha Kala. Desha means space, Desha means place, Kala means time. So space and time, they come in only because of this I notion. Whenever there is an I notion, the transactions begin. Early in the morning, as soon as I get up, the ahamkara, I notion, has woken up. Immediately we spring into action. I have to do this, I have to do that. We start making lists of things to do. And then when we go back to sleep, this I notion goes to sleep. It becomes passive. The mind becomes passive. Therefore, our experiences in the waking state is over. And this experience is what is called as samsara. What happens if you miss the satyam, which is atma? Then what happens is ahamkara, the I notion, and all our experiences, they become real. This is where the difference lies between a wise man and a ignorant person. Wise means what? A person who has the knowledge of the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita or of Saddarshanam, which reveals the Atma, and that Atma is called as Paramarthika Satyam. Paramarthika Satyam means it is absolute level, beyond which there is nothing. The whole universe is in Atma. The same Atma is also given another name, Brahman, from a different standpoint. So Ahamkara becomes real. Again, I repeat, because this is a very important revelation. If I don't know my nature as pure awareness, consciousness principle, which is the truth, which is the ultimate truth, which is the reality according to the scriptures, that is the reality. Not only reality about myself, it is the reality of the entire universe. That is what is revealed in the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. Aham Brahma Asmi, Prajnanam Brahma, I am Atma Brahma. All these Mahavakyas, they reveal this truth between the individual and the total. Between the Jiva, we say, and the Paramatma, which is the total. Between the Jiva Atma and the Paramatma, there is only one reality, which is common to both of them. That is what is called as Atma or pure consciousness. The more I learn about this repeatedly in different texts, what happens is that our mind, which is used to thinking about this body and the mind and the world so much, starts slowly getting a glimpse of this pure consciousness. Our own mind, when it is extroverted, without the knowledge of the scriptures, it is always extrovert. But with the knowledge of the scriptures, what happens is slowly the mind withdraws from the external world. It learns to look internally, and you then say, yes, there is something which I missed, which I ignored throughout my life. And when this mind, when it is supplemented with the knowledge from the scriptures, it gets the power, it gets the strength to go deep into our core of the personality. Then we can say what the Upanishad says, Tasmat eva etasmat atmanaha akasha sambhutaha akashat vayuhu vayor agnihi agner rapaha. So this is a beautiful verse from the Taittiriya Upanishad. What it says is, from Atma, space is born, air, water, fire, earth, all these are born, herbs, food, man, everything is born from Atma. Then we can say, if I am that Atma, I can say I am that pure consciousness, Chaitanyam principle, from which this entire waking world comes up. Waking world is nothing but the 5 elements and its products, which I experience. And it is in this Atma, they resolve in the deep sleep state. And it is in this Atma, it is existing. So, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, all the 3, that means creation, maintenance, and resolution, all 3 are happening only in pure awareness principle, which is called as Chaitanya. This was what was revealed in the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, which we had seen. Some of you have attended my Bhagavad Gita classes on Saturday. We had seen these verses. Achedyoyam adhyayoyam akledyo shoshe evacha nitya sarvagata sthanuho. This is the verse I was referring to. Nityaha. This word nityaha is very, very important with reference to pure awareness consciousness. This nityaha means it is changeless principle. Generally, we do not know anything in world which is not changing. The world is changing, our body is changing, our thoughts are changing. Every object has got atoms, electrons, protons, all these are changing rapidly at a tremendous speed. Science will say there is only change happening in this world. It's continuous change. In this changing world, Nityaha, there is only one thing, changeless. That changeless entity is called as Atma. And that changeless entity, it cannot be burnt by fire. Body can be burnt by fire. Atma is the pure consciousness principle, deathless. Therefore, when you say deathless, it also means birthless. It is the subtlest thing in this entire universe. It is subtler than space. That is why we are able to say, from Atma, the space is born. So anything, so for the space which is in effect, what is the cause? Cause is Atma. For air, what is the cause? For air, element air, the cause is space. For the element fire, what is the cause? Immediate cause is air. For the fire, for the water, what is the cause? Fire element. For the earth, what is the cause? Water. From the earth, herbs come, food comes. From the food comes the essence in man or woman. This is how is the grand picture of the Vedas. So even though Ramana Maharishi is talking about body with reference to body, only there is a time, only there is space. We must understand the depth of the entire Upanishads when Ramana Maharishi is speaking those verses. So that was verse number 18. Very deep verses again, I'm saying, because they can, if you go deeper and deeper into these verses, you can get into the truth. In every verse, you can come and say, he's talking about that Sat principle, every verse. That is why in this entire text is called as Saddarshanam. Sat means it is the pure existence principle. Sat means it is the pure consciousness principle, and it is the Ananda principle, the happiness, the pure bliss principle. So in this verse, 19th verse, he talks about the difference between an ignorant person and a wise person. In the state of oneself being the body, the wise man and the ignorant man are the same. The wise man also knows the body as the self. The ignorant also knows the body as the self in the waking state for vyavahara. But what is the difference between the two? For one, in the heart, in the body, the self is lit up. That means for a wise man, he knows the spiritual knowledge. That is what is called as lighting up the knowledge of Atma in one's own mind. When we study the Upanishads, when we study the Bhagavad Gita, this lighting up in our mind happens. When this lighting up happens, this is called as Divya Chakshu, the eye of wisdom. This is a knowledge-based eye. It is not the Mamsa eye. Mamsa eye means the fleshy eyes. The fleshy eyes will reveal only form and color in the world outside. Our eye of wisdom will reveal Atma, the illuminator principle of the mind. And what reveals is the knowledge from the scriptures, the Shabda Pramanam. It is called as Apaurisheya Shabda Pramanam. It is called as Pramanam. Pramanam means it is a source of knowledge. The knowledge that Atma, I am that Atma, which is the revealer of this mind, comes only from the scriptures. That is why it is called as lighting up inside our mind. So the self is lit up. Self is lit up means the mind gets lit up with the knowledge that it is being illumined by consciousness. And this light which illumines the mind is the one which illumines the sense organs. And the sense organs reveal the world of 5 sense objects. This is how we should understand. For the other, the self is measurable only as the body. That means for an ignorant man, he only thinks I was born on so-and-so day because he is only looking at the body. Whereas the wise man knows his consciousness which is never born, which is the changeless Nitya principle. Again and again I'm saying, this one word called as eternal can lead you to the immortal truth. And it can lead you to your own core nature. One word, Nityaha. Never forget this word called as Nityaha. Nityaha means eternal. Eternal means changeless. And there is only one changeless principle in this body, in your body, in my body, in everybody's body. Only one eternal principle, which is called as awareness. The more I learn, the more I hear about this awareness principle. Generally, in a talk like this, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, we spend about 1 hour talking, discussing about Atma. This is the continuous study. The more we study continuously these scriptures, this flame which is just lit up, it is a small spark in the beginning. It becomes a conflagration after some time. The spark becomes a conflagration. That is what Mundaka Upanishad says. He says it is just a small spark in the beginning, but it develops into such a big conflagration that our entire mind is completely filled with this consciousness, and we get totally absorbed in this consciousness principle. When that happens, that is called as self-realization. Then that is called as moksha. And this happens. This is the truth. This is the promise of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the promise of all the scriptures. And it is only possible by Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. 3 steps. Listening, reflecting, and absorption. Again and again, we have to listen, we have to reflect, clear our doubts, and be absorbed in that knowledge. I am that consciousness, I am that awareness, I am that pure light principle which is illumining the entire universe. It is that light by which the entire sun is getting illumined. That is what we have to learn. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. This is the same thing which Lord Krishna is revealing in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, I do nothing. Naiva kurvanna karayan. That means I don't do anything. I here stands for the pure consciousness. It stands for the consciousness principle, which is akarta abhokta. It's not a doer of action. It is not an enjoyer of action, but it is the one which illumines everything. And in this body of 9 gates, the 9 gates are nothing else but through which transactions happen. Like a gate is through which goods can come in, goods can go out. Similarly, through our eyes, we can get the forms, we can get the sound, they are all coming in through the gate of the eyes, the sense organs. Again, from the same gate, we can react. We can go and we can respond to the world. So through this body, which consists of 9 gates, transactions happen. What we are trying to see is that in these verses of the Bhagavad Gita, why I have included here is, it is all because the wise man knows this consciousness in this way, not in any other way. We must learn about Atma, the pure light in us, only as per what is taught to us, the way it has been taught to us by the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads. We cannot derive our own methods. We must follow the scriptural methodology of revelation of the pure I, the pure consciousness. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahamkara vimudhatma kartarhamiti manyate. Very popular verse in the 3rd chapter of the Gita. Very, very important verse to understand that all actions are performed in all cases by the quality of the gunas, by the nature of the gunas. That means what? It is only the matter principle which is acting in the world outside with the help of jnana indriyas, karma indriyas. But what does the mind think? The mind thinks that it is doing everything, which is the ahamkara. All of us, we all feel that I am doing all my actions. But what Lord Krishna is teaching is there is a Atma which is illumining this mind, which is illumining the sense organs. And the sense organs are interacting with the sense objects in the outer world. The moment you come to know that you are the Atma, I am not the body, body is in me the Atma. In me the Atma means in me the consciousness, awareness principle. So if you study the Bhagavad Gita like this, and if you understand that there is a consciousness awareness principle, every verse in the Bhagavad Gita will make sense to you. But if you don't understand the consciousness principle and if you just read a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, you will be as ignorant as another person. You're just reading a verse, just trying to understand. Many people learn or come to Vedas without knowing the basic structure of this entire universe, which is described in the Tattva Bodha. That is why I always emphasize study the Tattva Bodha first, study the Atma Bodha first. Once we know these two texts, then you can pick up the Bhagavad Gita. Then you can pick up so many other texts. So it's a step-by-step process of learning. So Shravanam, listening, has to happen in a step-by-step orderly fashion. And when you do that in an orderly fashion, each of these verses, then Bhagavad Gita will make sense to you. I am not the body, I am the Atma. I, the Atma, alone appear as the body, hence there is no duality. This is the ultimate truth of all the scriptures. The moment I identify myself as the Atma, then only I can say that the entire world is resting in me, the Atma, which is, and therefore I can say that Atma I am, which is non-dual. Non-dual means there is only one entity, there is only one thing in this entire universe, which Shankaracharya propounded and said that is called as Advaitam. This is a principle called as Veda Antaha portion. And according to Shankaracharya, this is the truth which is revealed by Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Saddarshanam, Upadeshasara, any text which you do, this is what is being revealed. Advaita Atma, which is the truth of not only me, the body, it is the truth of the entire universe, the whole cosmos. Because cosmos is seen by whom? It is seen by our eyes. And eyes are fired by what? It is fired by the mind, which has got thoughts. And the mind comes into existence how? It is illumined by the Atma. Mind becomes unmanifest in sleep. This is how the entire Vedanta can be understood. Just as pots are pervaded by clay, the body is pervaded by Chaitanya. What does this mean? It means wherever you touch the pot is nothing else but clay. It is only you're touching the clay. What is pot? Pot is a name and a form given to clay. What is body, mind, world? Body, mind, world are three names. given to what? Chaitanya, which is my pure consciousness. Like the pot is pervaded by clay, the entire world of objects is pervaded by consciousness. This is the vision of a jnani. This vision is called as Saddarshanam. This is the vision by which you can say, I am that pure consciousness, and the entire world is name and form. And name and form is nothing but it is an appearance in consciousness. It is an appearance. Like what? Like the rope snake appears on a rope. Rope means it is like Atma. The entire universe is like the rope snake. So the medium of body and mind is required for experience, but not for knowing that I am the Atma. I can exist as the pure consciousness, which is what the Bhagavad Gita and every other Upanishad tells me. For existence, I don't need body and mind. I exist how? Like in sleep. I exist as pure consciousness. Mind has gone to sleep. Therefore, I am not aware of the body. I am not aware of the world. So through this analysis of the three states of consciousness, the Upanishads, they reveal the truth. So you see, once the revelation happens, then it is very easy for us to understand this entire universe. Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, all three are superimpositions on one substratum which is called as consciousness. A jnani also feels biological pain exactly like a ajnani. Jnani means wise man. Ajnani means ignorant person. What is samsara? Samsara is psychological pain and emotional pain. And then it includes the response to the biological pain. I'll go a little bit deeper into this. And then we will stop with this verse today because we have taken very deep verses for analysis. What is a jnani? Jnani is one who knows the biological pain is due to prarabdha of the body. See, the moment I come to know I am that pure consciousness, with reference to that consciousness, we have to give an explanation of our experiences of the body. Both the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, they say, I am Atma. In Atma, there is nothing. I alone am. But then what do I experience? I am experiencing my body. I am experiencing my mind. I am experiencing the universe. In order to explain the universe and our experiences, the Vedas talk about laws of karma. The moment the moment my identification with the body comes up, the law of karma is active, which is what? Sanchita, Agami, Prarabdha. So the body pain is common to both a wise man as well as a ignorant man. But the ignorant man concludes that I am the body and mind, and I am going through this body and mind. What does the wise man says? Wise man says it is the body which is going through the pain. I am not the body. The body has got prarabdha. The mind has got prarabdha. I am the Atma, which is, there is no karma involved for Atma. Not only now, it never had karma. So the law of karma is applicable not to Atma at all. Therefore, I can boldly say I am birthless. If I am the pure consciousness principle. This is only for knowledge, not for practical use when we are operating in the world. While we are operating in the world, we must be operating as body only. Remember this fact, because many people, they call me and ask me this question. How do I reconcile the knowledge with the experience of the transactional world? This knowledge is only, this knowledge of Atma is only a knowledge in your intellect. Whenever you get troubled by your mind, immediately bring up this knowledge. That's all. This will give you freedom from samsara, from sorrow. I am that consciousness principle. This is only meant for you only, because you are the one who has got this knowledge. You can trigger this knowledge in your own mind, because this is knowledge which has been lit up in your mind. Whereas a lay person will not have this knowledge. Therefore, he will continue the samsara, and he will experience not only the bodily pain, he will also experience the mental agony. So I have consciousness in the body and mind is the experience of an ignorant person. I am the emotions in the mind. That is the experience of the ignorant person. I am emotional, I am angry, I am very, very jealous. All these are all only thoughts in the mind, that's all. But the ignorant person doesn't know this. I am localized. I experience the body in Singapore. I experience the body in India. These are all localized with reference to the body. So the ignorant person knows only the Vyavaharika Satyam, the transactional reality, the transactional world. Whereas a wise person who is a jnani, he will say, I continue in sleep without bio experiences. I am a witness of the presence and absence of thoughts in my mind in sleep. I pervade the whole universe as consciousness, understood. This is understood in the intellect, but it is not experienced. For experience, you will always require the mind. And the mind will throw up thoughts. That is what we call it as experience. Consciousness plus the mind gives us experiences. Experience minus the mind is consciousness. This is a knowledgeable person. This is the why he's called as a jnani. Jnani can be a male or a female. It can be Japanese. It can be anybody. Anybody who knows the Atma is called as jnani. When the light is lit up for any human mind, that person is called as a jnani, a wise person. It is this knowledge which remains in the mind of a person which gets rid of all the sorrows permanently. Why? Because he comes to know that as the Atma, he never has any action to do in life. All actions are being done by the body and the mind as per the laws of creation. I am in the body as chit during waking dream and outside the body in sleep. That means I have no location. I'm locationless when I am in the sleep state. But when I'm in the waking and in the dream, I am located inside the body. I, the consciousness. That is why we say this consciousness is reflected in the mind, and that reflection is inside this body. But what happens to the in deep sleep state? There is no more reflection. It reflects only in the Karana Shariram. How do I become free? How do I get moksha? I get moksha by the knowledge of the scriptures, which says that I, the Atma, am ever free. Whereas the limitations belongs only to the body, mind, or sense organs. The limitations can belong to the gross body, subtle body, or the causal body. Limitations of this gross body, all of us are aware of. Body has birth and death. Gross body. That is a limitation of the gross body. Body is fat, body is thin. These are all, the body is short, body is tall. These are all the limitations of the gross body. Subtle body, the limitations, it is happy, it is not happy, it is sorrowful, it is joyful, these are the limitations of the mind. It has ignorance, it has memory, it has no memory, it is very clear, it can understand, it does not understand. These are all the properties of the mind, limitations of the mind. But as Atma, I have no limitations. As the causal body, it has got the punyam and papam. Somebody has got so much of punyam, he is enjoying life. They born in a rich family. All because of punyam. It's nothing else. It's again that punyam belongs to what? Karana Shariram. It belongs to the causal body. So all the limitations, a jnani, this is the difference between a wise person and an ignorant person. So I am in Singapore or India is with reference to the body, not with reference to the consciousness, which is always there. It is all pervading consciousness. There is no place where there is no consciousness because it spreads around. It is a light of all lights. Jyotisham api jyotihi. Bhagavad Gita says, it is the light of all lights. All pervading. The experiencer I am different than the inert body. So this, this experience is what? This experiencer is the pure consciousness. Whatever I experience, I am not. I experience the car, I experience the house, I experience so many things in this world. But I'm not that. I experience. Similarly, what the scripture says, you experience the body, you see the body, but you are not the body. You are the witness of the body. Atma is understood as free from all limitations of time, space, and objects. What is the attitude of wise man towards the world? We will see next week. We have seen the attitude of the wise man with reference to the body in this verse, number 19. Then we have seen with reference to the time, with reference to the mind, what is his attitude, with reference to the space, time concept, we have seen the attitude of a wise man. All these, each of these verses are telling us this is what is Saddarshanam. This is what is called as Saddarshanam. Each of this verse, you can end up and say, this is Saddarshanam. This is Saddarshanam. This is their reality. This is the vision of their reality. Each of these verses, we can add on this in the end. So next week, we will do verse number 20. We'll continue these verses. There we have another 24 verses. These verses, I'm going a little slow and explaining in depth because you can realize these are all revelations of all these, like I said, they are all revelations of the one truth principle. And my objective in this study is to reveal that Atma to all the listeners. Okay, so with this, we will close the today's sessions. I will take up, if there are any questions, you can ask that. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamathaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. I'll see if there are any questions here. Yeah, Shama is asking, oh, just a remark. I do have questions, if I may ask. Yes, Shama, you always have questions. I know that you are one person who will have questions. It's always good for everybody says Shama's questions are the best questions because everybody has the same question in their mind. Okay, Shanmugam, can you unmute everybody so that they can ask questions? Yeah, Shama?
Thank you, Shekharji. Namaste.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very interesting that you should actually say that during sleep time, so it's the time. And I feel very, very happy because time has been one of the biggest challenges in my life, as it must be for lots of other people, you know, this space and time question. Space doesn't bother me so much, but time is, you know, in terms of, am I doing worthwhile during this time? It can even be like for your talk or for anything, you know. So what is interesting, therefore, well, the question which I wanted to ask, one second. So if we eliminate the consciousness of time and space, which includes the awareness of this is good, this is bad, this is useful, this is not useful, this is right, this is wrong. So if that goes away, we are in, by default, are we automatically in a pure state of Chaitanyam, in our awareness state?
Yes. Yes, you are right. You see, if the utility of the world is not expressed with reference to Atma, the consciousness principle, then you're right.
So, which therefore means that if I take away this, you know, this normal which the mind does, is this good, right, wrong? If I just stop that and say, it doesn't matter, you know, I am in the right path, I'm a seeker. I mean, so if there's only one identity, I am so and so, I would only like to have, I am a seeker, because that's really why we are, So that's the only identity so far. If I have to have an ahankara, I would like to probably say, I am a seeker, because then that is my directive,
Yes.
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
that is okay to have,
Yeah, but one caution here. Always remember that in Vyavahara, in our transactional life, try to do the actions as what is required at any time. Suppose you're a mother, you're supposed to be doing some work at home or to help your daughter. So in transactional field, do not bring that knowledge Only if that in the transactional field, if you are facing sorrow at that time, you bring the knowledge of that reality.
So in the takeaway is in the Jagrat state, if I can consciously, I mean, this is really just a question, during my wakeful state, Jagrat state, is this useful sometimes to actually have that little space for myself, which is just sitting back, you know, and I'm inspired by Ramana Maharshi's one of the statement which he makes. It's a beautiful statement which he makes. Passivity is strength, activity is weakness, which means we are actually training our minds to just sit back and just be aware of our thoughts.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, you see that's why I said if you're a wise person
just
and
sitting back.
yeah, if you're a wise person and you're using the knowledge to remain and be with yourself, that's perfect. That's very good.
To actually, as a
yes,
to say we must allocate some time during the day when we are not reading, we are not listening, we are not doing anything, but
yes,
just literally about 20 minutes of just sitting back and
yes,
just being aware of our thoughts. It's like what will be akin to a mindfulness, but a bit
yeah.
more.
Yes,
Yeah,
a little bit more, but in that mindfulness, you must try to slowly bring the thought of Atma.
Yeah, which is
Don't
what I
try
am
to, yeah, don't, you see, initially mindfulness is good. To watch your mind is good. But it should not be that all the time you're only mindful.
Yeah.
You should bring in the thought of consciousness, that awareness principle, and say, I am that pure awareness principle. After some time, the mindfulness should shift to consciousness.
And the very last, this is, if we have to translate this whole thing into our conventional terminology, would it be fair to say that through all this knowledge, we are actually getting a spiritual intelligence, which will be equivalent to our Anandamaya Kosha?
Yes.
Emotional intelligence, which will be Vijnanamaya Kosha?
Yes.
And a cognitive intelligence, which will be equivalent to Manmaya Kosha. And then, of course, like Pranamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. So, in other words, this is completely, it's like a cleansing effect. You know,
yes,
this
you're
whole
right.
of the knowledge
The knowledge basically purifies the human intellect.
Correct.
The human intellect has got ignorance in it. Yeah. That ignorance is what is the aim of the study, to remove that ignorance and then light up the knowledge. The knowledge of the scriptures will light the intellect. Yeah. And once that ignorance is gone away, then Atma shines. Right. Okay. And this could be the explanation as to perhaps when we have had a good sleep, how amazingly we get up into our refreshed states, because at that time there was no mind at all, isn't it? Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and you can experience the same thing while waking also if you have this knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. 100% the same. That is what is called as the state of samadhi. And therefore, if and to the more and more awareness state, it is just quite fascinating that we may have very brief moments during our sleep time by about midnight or something like that, you know, where the mind has just shifted from the sleep state into another, where you can actually suddenly find that illumination, you know. Of course, it lasts very brief while, where, for example, it's like the Shiva's cosmic dance, you know, where the Shiva and Shakti and all that, it's just really in a brief moment. And then, of course, it's like goes away. Yes. So, yeah, no, that's quite fascinating. Thank you. I really, really thank you so much for your classes. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, Shama, that was good. That was a good explanation of what you have understood in today's talk. There is one question from Uma. She's saying, on one hand, we say Jagat is only projection of the mind. And then on the other hand, it said it is Brahman created the Jagat. Can you please clarify? Okay. There are two levels at which we should understand this. Initially, when we say that this Jagat is a creation of the mind, is a projection of the mind, initially what we say is that there are two minds. One is the mind of Ishvara, the second is the mind of the individual. There are two minds which are at play in our waking state. The entire universe is basically the projection of Maya, which is mind of the Ishvara. So the mountains, the rivers, the Mount Everest, or the whole nature, that is not the human mind. It is not the projection of the human mind. The human mind has got a projection in the dream state. And that is happened because of the Shakti of the individual mind. The Shakti is the Nidra. That means the sleep state is the Shakti by which the world which we project in a dream, that is the projection of the human mind. The thoughts which we generate during the waking state, that is also the generation of the human mind. Then when we look at a higher level, suppose then you look at Atma, once you have got the knowledge of the Brahman, once you know this entire thing is, this entire world is nothing else but consciousness. Suppose you go to that level, then what we can say is that consciousness is there in each one of us. In each one of our mind, now we are shifting the attention not from simple knowledge of only the individual and the individual mind. Now we are shifting the entire focus is on Brahman. Brahman means what? It is one consciousness substratum for the entire universe. That is what is the term called as Brahman. Brahman means it is Brihatvat Brahman. Brihatvat means all pervading consciousness. It is one principle which exists in your mind, my mind, everybody's mind. From that consciousness principle, the whole world of waking, dream, sleep, including of all the individuals, is projected. Because that consciousness is only one. So we must understand this very clearly, that with reference to the consciousness which illuminates my mind, through that mind it illuminates the entire world, then we say that Brahman, which is called as pure awareness, that is projecting the entire universe with reference to my body and mind, with reference to every body and mind. So this is how you should understand when we say Brahman is the cause of the entire universe. It is not the human mind. Human mind can only, that is why we say we are we have very limited powers. Ishvara has got unlimited powers.
Small world.
Okay, so Uma, is it clear?
Yes, Shekharji, I think I need to listen to your explanation again one more time, and then if I have questions, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, get back to me. I can call you. I can discuss this with you on a one-to-one basis. But basically, again, I repeat, there are two Srishtis. One is called as Ishvara Srishti. Another is called as Jiva Srishti. This comes in the scriptures itself. Ishvara Srishti means it is a creation of the Lord. It is a creation of the Lord. That means what we feel, the five elements are created by the Lord. The Lord is the controller of the five elements. I am not the controller of the five elements. The body is not the controller of the five elements. So whenever we talk about the world, it is always Ishvara Shrishti. In Bhagavad Gita also, the Lord will say this entire vibhutis which you see in the entire universe is mine. In the 10th chapter, we will be coming to that. And the 11th chapter, he says this, you see the whole world as my creation. So when we say that the world is created by the mind, it means it is a Ishvara's mind. With reference to the Lord, when I as a body look at the world, it is called as Ishvara Srishti. Now, this is one point. When I am a body, I have a mind. I also create the dream world. That time that is called as Jiva Srishti. That means it is the individual's mind which has created the dream. During the daytime also, I keep on planning, I keep on doing things. I mean, my thoughts keep on coming throughout the day. That is all Jiva Srishti based on the vasanas, based on your memories, based on past experience. This is all creations in the mind. And these are all created, this is called as Jiva Srishti and Ishvara Srishti. I think now you understand the two Srishtis, creations.
Yes, Shekharji. Now it's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Aminshu, you had a question?
Yes, so two brief questions I have.
Yeah.
After studying the difference between ignorant and wise man, one of the characteristics of the wise man can be stated that wise man doesn't see substantial difference between Jiva and Atma.
Correct.
Can I say that?
Yeah. The wise man sees a difference because he knows Jiva is Brahman.
Yes, does not see substantial difference.
Yeah, correct. He sees it is the same. That's it.
Okay. The second question is, you say that I pervade the whole universe.
Yes.
Here the consciousness pervades the jivas, trees, plants, whatever it is, all conscious objects.
Yes.
Whereas for all non-living thing or inert body, it is pervaded indirectly through the energy of the Atma. In fact, Atma remains inactive and the great order does everything through the Prakriti in the presence of Atma. Am I correct?
Yeah. In the presence of Atma, Prakriti is what is bringing out the entire world.
Yes.
Prakriti, in the chapter 13th of the Gita, Lord Krishna very clearly says that the whole world is nothing else but it is my Prakriti. So it is the Prakriti in the presence of Atma, it creates.
So in our bodies, it is not directly pervaded by Atma.
No, it is not. It is pervaded means it is a cause. Indirectly, it is the cause. Yes.
It is the cause.
Like the gold is the cause of all the ornaments, ring, bangle, chain. When we say gold is the cause, we say it is pervaded by gold.
Right.
So similarly, world is pervaded by consciousness, means it is the material cause by which it is the material cause of the entire universe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, very good question. Well, it's a very deep question what you have asked. Good. Yeah, Vijay, you had a question. Are you still around?
Yes, Shrikaji, Hari Om.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's not a major question. It's just a clarification. When you were explaining that tabulation on consciousness without the body, which is aham, and the consciousness as circumscribed by the body's ahamkara. So this could be equated to the kutastha, that is without the body, where there is no reflection at all because it's just the cosmic Brahman. That's it, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So
it is a kutastha. You're right.
Okay. So now, and the second question, when we were doing the comparison contrast between Jnani and Ajnani, there is this consciousness plus mind is experience, obviously because the mind has this idam vritti, and actually that's the reason why I think even Umaji had the similar question on
that's nothing but the world of objects are existing because of the mind.
Yes, yes.
And then you used the same, you used the same thing and said experience minus mind is the consciousness.
Yes.
So that's the reason why we say that when we do the manonasha,
Yes.
wherein the vrittanasha happens, that typically chitta vritti nirodha is where you typically root it to the nirvikalpa samadhi. I agree that point. But my question here is, when the experience minus mind is consciousness, without the mind, there cannot be experience. There cannot be an experience without the mind. So manonasha means there is no vrittis, means there is no experience possible. Since the objects, which is nothing but a vritti at the dream level, or objects at the Jagrut Avastha, cannot exist without the element called mind. So
Yes.
then in that case, I say experience minus mind is consciousness. The experience minus mind actually doesn't exist. It's only consciousness which stays alone after that.
Yes, you're right. That is the ultimate lesson of the Mandukya Upanishad also.
Yep. Okay.
It is the same lesson which is described in the first 5 verses of the Panchadasi, which you have transcribed now.
Yep. Yep.
Same, exactly the same. If you go through the first 5 verses which you have transcribed, it is exactly the same meaning. That means you remove the objects, what remains is consciousness. In the waking state, you remove the objects, what remains is consciousness. In the dream state, you remove all the objects, what remains is consciousness. In the deep sleep state, you remove the object which is called as ignorance, what remains is consciousness. Consciousness is the invariable factor which is present in all the 3 states.
Yep. Yep.
And a second thing is it can remain independently. This knowledge,
it is the adhisthana.
yes, it is the adhisthana, and then you just say, I am that.
Yeah.
Tatvamasi. This is what the Guru teaches the student. He says, that is what you are. And the student also says, yes, I am that. And he says, Aham Brahmasmi. This is where the entire knowledge is over. The student understands Tattvamasi as his real nature. And the teacher has taught that pure consciousness is your nature.
Okay. Okay.
Very, very good. I mean, your analysis is good. I think you have gone step by step. Well done. Okay. Anybody else?
Shekharji, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the previous class, or rather in one of the earlier classes, you had mentioned that a thought is an indication of the presence of the mind, right?
Yes.
So in verse 16, while you were explaining the Vachyartha and the Lakshyartha concepts,
Yeah.
is the Lakshyartha, which is the implied meaning, is that the way in which we approach this? Like we see the
Yes.
thought, so we infer from that there is the presence of the mind.
Exactly.
The mind
No,
is
presence of Atma.
I see.
The Lakshyartha means through the presence of the thoughts, I say there is thoughts is a Vachyartha. Vachyartha means it is the meaning of the direct meaning of the word. Through the thoughts, I learn to understand the Lakshyartha of the thoughts. Lakshyartha is the consciousness.
But how does the presence of thought indicate consciousness? It should indicate the presence of the mind, right?
Mind itself is called as thought. Mind and thought is the same. Whether you call a thought or you call it a mind, it is synonymous. But what the thought reveals is the light by which you are seeing the thought.
Oh, I see.
That is why we say it manifests consciousness. Consciousness reveals thought. Thought manifests consciousness. These are the 2 words which we use. Because thought cannot reveal consciousness because it is inert.
Okay.
Thought can only manifest. It says that there is something called as an illuminator of thought, without which the thought is inert. It becomes conscious, the thought, you are able to see it only because you are the illuminator.
Right.
You
So
are
when
the illuminator of the thought. Thought is not illuminating you. Thought is inert, you are sentient. This differentiation, the moment you understand, immediately the realization happens. Because a thought is only, it's revealing you the consciousness principle. That's all. It reveals to you, means it manifests the consciousness. Like the moonlight manifests the sunlight. Moon doesn't have light of its own. Moonlight manifests sunlight. Sunlight reveals the moon. Similarly, consciousness reveals the thought, inert thought like the moon, inert moon, without the light. Moon is exactly like our thought. Thought is inert, consciousness is, thought is inert, moon is inert. Thought is getting the reflection, moon is getting the reflection. Thought gets the reflection of the Atma, moon gets the reflection of the sunlight. Moon, we say, is manifesting the sun, because the sun is not visible to us at the night time. In the night time, sun is not visible to me. But when I look at the full moon day, it was yesterday was full moon night yesterday. The moon was absolutely bright. It was a full moon. But moon doesn't have light of its own. It was only manifesting the sun's light. So when I looked at the moonlight, my intellect will say it is the sunlight. Similarly, when I look at the thought, when I know the thought is there, my mind should say it is my reflection, which is getting reflected in the thought. I am that consciousness principle. This is the knowledge, which comes only because of the scriptures. But it's only the scriptures which tell us I am the Atma, and the thought is inert. But the thought is revealed by me. Throughout the day, once you know this principle that the thoughts are revealed by consciousness, throughout the day you can have thoughts. And you will come to know that these are my thoughts.
And you are not the thought.
And you are not the thought. But thoughts are required to run the world. Throughout the day, you have to work with the thoughts to live in the world. So once you know this consciousness, what happens is every thought becomes an object. You can identify with it. You can drop it also. You get the ability, the strength to say, yes, this is a good thought, I should pursue. This is a bad thought, I should drop. I should ignore. That is how you become purer and purer.
I have one more question based on this. Shekharji, when you say that the thought and the mind are one and the same, what is the perspective from which you're saying? That's from the consciousness point of view.
Thought is nothing else, but it is when I say mind, it is the antakaranam. It is see, antakaranam means it is the inner instrument we all have. The inner instrument has got 4 functions. One function is called as the mind, which is the emotions. The second is called as the intellect, which has got thoughts, which is discriminating good, bad. That is a discriminating ability. Then it has got memory. It is also a thought. So it is a subtle body is called as the antakaranam. The subtle body is inner instrument. And the inner instrument is nothing else but in the form of thoughts. It can be thoughts in the form of memory. It can be thoughts in form of intellect. It can be thoughts in the form of emotions. Or it can be the I thought, which is the ego.
Okay.
You're clear now, right?
Yes.
It's reflected by object actually. It's a bundle of thoughts is the mind.
Yes, it's a bundle of thoughts, but then ultimately it is getting reflected. The light which illumines that is consciousness.
Yes.
Then why was it in the earlier text that it was explained in such a way that the presence of thought is an indication of the mind? Like, what was the rationale for explaining it that way?
It is must be very contextual. It is must
I
be
see.
some in some context we must have said that when the thoughts are there, that means the mind is there. That's all. It is in a particular
It's
context.
still valid.
Yeah.
It's still valid.
Yes. Okay. I think.
Shekharji, I have one last question because I think I waked up the confusion between Vachartha and Rakshartha. See, the example which you gave about the moon, see, the quality of the moon is coolness, which is probably, what do you call, appeared qualities, but not the true quality, because the light of the moon is actually coming as a reflection from the sun.
Yes.
If I have to really relate an object to explain this, so can I directly say the direct meaning of Vachartha being the sun and the Lakshartha implied is that the moon is because of the sun's light?
Yeah, that's correct. See, when you say that the sun illumines the moon, it is Vachyartha. When you say the moon is getting illumined by sun's light, it is called as Lakshyartha. That's all. You're just this Vachyartha, Lakshyartha is just an indicative meaning or a direct meaning.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Subject is revealed through the object.
Yes. Okay, I think it was a very interesting question and answer session for almost for half an hour. I think very soon we should start having 1 hour question and answer sessions.
That's what I was about to say. No, question answer is widening.
It's good that I can see that, because it's a very deep text, and each verse is so deep it can go back and it can reveal the truth, and a lot of clarity of the fundamental aspects of Vedanta. Once it is cleared, that is what I can see. The questions are coming on the fundamental aspects of Vedanta. Once that fundamental structure of Vedanta is clear, then this analysis becomes very easy. And the way I'm taking this is I'm trying to bring in the fundamental concepts so that the fundamental concepts are become very strong with all of us, Okay, thank you very much, and good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shekharji. Good night.
Good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you. Thank you.